What's up, guys? It's me, Amy, back with another chat. God put it on my heart today. We're gonna talk about my testimony, and when he says move, we're gonna move. So let's talk about it. For some reason, I'm feeling reluctant. I don't really want to talk about it, but let's just do it. From OnlyFans to Only God. So I was saved 1 year ago, March 2024, and like many people, I turned to God after having a lot of hard things happen in my life. I do not know what's going on with this lash, but it is going to be the death of me. So taking it back, when I was 10 years old, my mom started attending the Jehovah's Witness church. We were homeless at the time, living with my grandparents, and my mom was going to the adult school. And one of the ladies from the church had approached my mom, and they just started talking, and then all of a sudden we were going to church with them. Now, when I would go to the church, I wasn't really paying attention. It was like 3 hours long. I was 10 years old. To me, it was really boring. It wasn't like a youth service. Like, I was in there with all of the adults. So basically the whole entire time I was there, I would have my drawing pad out and I would just be drawing pictures. My mom continued to study with them, but she was never super devout to it. She never got baptized. She didn't want to give up her worldly ways of living. Essentially, my mom liked having like multiple boyfriends. My mom liked kind of doing her own thing. She didn't want to fully commit to it. My mom always had commitment issues. Eventually, as I got older, I was able to stay home by myself. I was a teenager now, and I no longer had any interest in going to the Jehovah's Witness church. I was drinking, I was partying. All of a sudden, one day, these missionaries come to our door, the LDS missionaries, and oh my gosh, I thought one of them was so cute. And my best friend, my partner in crime, she thought that the other one was really, really cute too. So we started going to the LDS church. Every now and again, like I said, we weren't super into it. We were just going because we were hoping that these missionaries would become our boyfriends, which is so ridiculous now. Like in retrospect, looking back, like that would have never happened. When you're 15, 16, that's what goes on in your mind. Like at least us, we were really boy crazy. I went there for a while and they were really trying to push me to get baptized. And I was, like, okay, yeah, definitely. And then finally, when the day came when I was supposed to get baptized, I was not comfortable. I was not ready at all. I did not want to give my life over. I honestly don't want to commit to something if I'm not going to give it my all. And I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to give this my all. I was still out partying, drinking, like taking ecstasy with my friends, staying up all night. Like there was no way I was ready to join the church and give my life to God. I don't remember if I actually told them that I wasn't ready or I just ghosted them because I'm 15, 16, maybe 17 years old. Like it's scary when like dealing with confrontation. But anyways, I stopped going there, and I'm really grateful for the background that I did have with God. I know it wasn't a lot, and I know I didn't take it seriously, but it still was enough to plant the seed in my mind. My late teens, my early 20s, I would still find myself going to God. I would talk to God here and there, like pray to him, ask him for things. Every now and again, I always knew God. I always knew of God. I always believed in a higher power, but I didn't have a close relationship with him. Fast forward 2021, so 4 years ago, I was at the lowest point in my life. It was so bad. Like my mental health had gone so bad. I just, I really wanted to unalive myself. Like I did not want to be here on earth anymore. Like I had been struggling so much, it's just mentally, like anxious attachment, depression, abandonment issues, relationships not working out. It was just everything at one time. I was currently working from home. I had started doing OnlyFans online maybe like the year before, so I was able to quit my 9-to-5 job, which was amazing, and I was so proud of myself for being able to do that, like, and supplement that my income. Like I was really impressed with myself, and I was working hard. I was doing TikTok and like getting thousands of followers, and I was making good money, but at the same time I was just miserable. I would have like visions where I just wanted to like drive my car off of a cliff. I'm just being real with you guys. Like there was no point in me living, but thankfully I had my dog, and she was the one thing that kept me going. I said, I have to be here to take care of her. There's nobody else. I have to be here for her. Thank God for her, And that's when I got into New Age. I needed something. And it's ironic because, like I said, I was feeling so down at the worst part of my life, so debilitated, could barely get off the couch every single day. And I had this necklace that had gone from Target. It was a rose quartz necklace. And I was like, rose quartz, it's a healing stone, love stone, whatever it is. I was like, I'm going to put on this crystal and hopefully this helps. And that day, after putting that crystal on, I remember I was driving to like the next town over. I was driving my car. It was the first time I ever felt relief in that time. Like things were going to be okay. And I was like, wow, it has to be this stone. Like there's no other way. Like, wow. Like it was just like instant relief, and things started turning around a bit from there. Like they weren't as bad. So I was collecting crystals. I was doing like, I don't even know how you call it now, but like I was like manifesting on the full moons and the new moons. I was making moon water and mason jars, putting them outside with the crystals like in it, and so the moon is on it, and then writing out all of my manifestations on a sheet of paper and putting it with the moon water and drinking it the next morning. And then, like I said, as I mentioned, I was manifesting as well. So I would write down all my manifestations like 6 times every single day, like multiple of them. Like I was looking back at one of old journals. I had like pages and pages of me just writing out like 5 manifestations at a time. And it really felt good to be believing in the universe. Like it felt good to be believing in a higher power. It felt right. And I felt like I had some hope for my life. In the beginning of 2022, maybe the end of 2021, I was begging the universe to let me move to San Francisco. I was so tired of living in my small town. I've always dreamt of living in San Francisco, and I was just begging and begging and begging to be able to please move. I hated where I was, and I thought if I change my location, then everything's going to be so much better. I was coming down to San Francisco every other weekend. Like I was getting a sitter for my dog, coming down every other weekend, visiting my family, going on dates with men. I was a sugar baby at the time, so a glorified escort. I was trying to find sugar dates to go out with guys on the weekends, and I was doing that a little bit up where I was living, but there wasn't a lot of opportunities for that. I just wanted more opportunities. I wanted more to do. Whenever I was at home, I would sit around on the couch and be so miserable and just be waiting for the next 2 weeks where I could go down to San Francisco and visit. I would try to stay busy all week long so the time went by even faster so I could get out of there. May 2022, so about 3 years ago, I was visiting my dad for Mother's Day weekend, and of course, I told you my dog was with the sitter. I get a call from the sitter kind of late at night. I was like, uh-oh. I answer the phone, and she tells me that my dog had unexpectedly passed away, which blew my mind because she was fine when I left that morning. She seemed like a little, maybe, she had like arthritis and stuff. That's why I didn't take her traveling with me, bad knees. So she couldn't be in the car for long periods of time. So that's why she would go with my sitter, who was amazing, a really good person. And like that morning, like I said, I thought maybe her arthritis was bothering her. She seemed a little slow. Other than that, she seemed totally fine. I went on my trip anyways. And I was worried about her, but I was like, everything's fine. So I get that call, and they told me she passed. My dog was 10.5 years old. She was my everything. My dog meant the world to me. Like I said, she was the one who kept me alive when I didn't want to be here. And just way more than that, she was my everything. Like, I'm one of those people who treats their pets like family, like their children. And I was so glad that I was there with my family. I was there with my dad and my sibling, and I had to give the phone to my sibling. Thankfully, they took care of everything, talked to her. And I told my dad, just hold me. And I was just crying. It was really, really hard. The next day, or maybe later that night, I'm hanging out with them, and I say, I can't go home. I can't go home. I said, if I go home, I'm going to unalive myself. I can't be there. And my dad said, that's fine, honey. You can stay here with us, with him and his family, like him and his wife and everyone else that lived in the house. There's a lot of people. You can stay here with us until you figure it out. And that was the day my manifestation came true, where I got to finally move to San Francisco. I had to give up the thing that mattered to me the most just to be able to get something that I really, really wanted. So that was 3 years ago, 2022. Later that year, August, September, I got into therapy, and I started healing myself. Life was hard. I was grieving my pet. I was grieving my life. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was sleeping on my dad's living room floor at how old was I? 30 or something, 29, 30. I've been on my own, I've been out and about since I was 19. I moved out of my house, moved out of my mom's house. I'd never been in this situation. So it was a lot going on to therapy, and I started working on myself. A lot of things transpired in this time, but essentially December 2023, we'll fast forward to that. My mom passed on Christmas. Thanks, Mom. Always going out with a bang. That's my girl, very extra. She passed on Christmas. My mom had been sick for a long time. She'd been in the hospital. 2016, she had a pulmonary embolism after complications to surgery that she had. And she had been confined to a hospital bed, living in a care facility. Can't move, you know, can only go like this with her hands, can't speak for some reason. So it's really hard seeing her like that, but she ended up passing. So I'm grateful that she's now in heaven and no longer miserable. But that was still really hard for me. I didn't realize how much it affected me, but I was mourning and I was having a hard time dealing with the people around me. I was very irritable. Everyone was irritating me. I had a very limited capacity for anybody, and that was part of my grieving. I was dating a guy. We had been dating since 2022, like a little bit before I moved to the Bay Area. We had been dating, and I really, really liked him. Really nice guy. Nothing bad to say, okay, guys? But he's very avoidant and very afraid of commitment. He's not a bad person. We're not saying anything bad about him, okay? He just wasn't ready to commit to a relationship. And after 2 years of us, you know, in limbo, 2024, so last year, he broke things off with me the day after Valentine's Day. It's a long story, but essentially, like, I was to blame in things too. We'll get into it later on, but I was to blame in things too. Like I said, I was grieving my mom. I wasn't very nice, wasn't very appreciative. And honestly, God takes people out of your life for a reason. And I think that was a really important thing. But that freaking broke my heart. That broke my heart. Ooh, look at me, getting emotional. Because like I was already going through that, and then that happened. So March, the next month, I was down bad, struggling, and I finally turned to God. You know, my therapist was like walking me through everything. She was there with me, and she's Christian. And so she was the one who kind of gave me that push to find God on my own. So I started watching sermons online, like Elevation Worship online. I was watching their sermons, which are so good. And she's like, Amy, I really want you to start going to church in person. I think it would be really good for you if you want to, of course. So the following month, I joined a church, the church I'm actually at now, and I started going in person. Dealt with spiritual warfare, gave me a lot of anxiety, but I was going and I was finally learning about God and how to have a relationship with God. This was 1 year ago this month. Easter was, I think, the first weekend that I went. So 2023, the end of 2023, I lost my mom. February 2024, the guy that I was hoping everything would just work out and we would be together forever, into things with me. Started church, you know. And then during last year, I also got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. It's an autoimmune disorder that affects your GI tract. And that was really scary. I was going through all this medical stuff alone. I had to go get a CT scan, which was fine. And then I had to go do a colonoscopy, you know, where they put the camera up in your butt. And it's just scary going through those things alone. And I wish that I still had my relationship to at least have that person to lean on. I had no one to lean on but my therapist and God. And of course my family, my dad wasn't supportive, but my sibling was awesome. But I can't lean on somebody for everything, you know. Dealing with health issues, it was really scary because I wasn't sure what it was. I was scared maybe it was like cancer or something, because you never know. You always go to worst case scenario. So that was really hard. And then the IRS sends me this random fine where I owed them $16,000 from back taxes from like 2021. Like I said, I've been doing OnlyFans this whole time, so I did self-employed taxes and probably messed them up somehow. So I owed $16,000. So that put me in debt. I was already in debt because I was traveling all the time, distracting myself. Like I said, going down to San Francisco all the time. I was also traveling internationally over these years, just using credit card after credit card. I cashed out my 401k and paid off the credit cards. And then I had another $16,000 in debt that I owed the IRS, and I had to pay it right away. They don't really do payment plans because you still have to pay it off and you only get like 3 months. So I just paid it all onto my credit card. So now I'm in debt. I can't travel anymore because I'm in debt, and which is a good thing because I was always running away, going to concerts, doing anything just so I didn't have to feel the emotions that I was going through. And then in August, God tells me, August of last year, 2024, God tells me to quit doing OnlyFans. Quit doing OnlyFans, quit doing all the fetish work that I was doing. I was doing mostly a lot of fetish work, like a lot of like lustful things, sexualizing myself. I had gotten a job in 2022. I was working in a medical office. So I'd been working this whole time. So I also had that to supplement my income because I was getting really tired of doing the OnlyFans stuff. It was just so mentally draining. I had a whole YouTube. And by that time it was at almost like 40,000 people on there. Maybe a little bit before August, maybe July. God told me to quit doing all of that sexual stuff, all of that fetish stuff. So I was like, really, God, it's about to be my birthday. I'm thousands of dollars in debt. And all of a sudden, you want me to quit my second income? At this point, like, I was going through a lot. So I had been spending a lot of money, just taking random trips to Target, buying things, buying stuff off of Amazon, anything to feel like a temporary, like, high, a bit of joy, a little bit of excitement, something to just kind of like look forward to. So my 9 to 5 was barely enough to supplement my income. It actually wasn't enough. So I'm like, okay, God, it took my time. I talked it over with my therapist, and eventually I ended up quitting it. I think it took me like a month, and I quit all the sex work stuff, all the sexual stuff. I deleted the OF, the other site that was similar to OF. I deleted the TikTok. I deleted the Twitter. I deleted the YouTube. It was hard because I have spent so many years building that platform. At the same time, it felt like such a relief. It felt so good to not have to do that anymore, to be delivered from that. I was tired of being lustful. I was tired of everyone over-sexualizing me. I wanted to help people. I started doing videos where I was giving advice, and nobody really cared to listen to those. Maybe a few people, but they were just there for, sexual things. And I didn't want that. I'm more than an object. I'm more than just whatever you see me at. And it was so draining. Like, I never had the energy to film. I didn't want to. And I don't know, it just felt good for God to deliver me from that. And ever since that day, all my bills have always been paid. There's never been a month where I haven't had enough money. Thankfully, for my 9 to 5. October, like I said, graduated from therapy. I was finally ready. Therapist literally handed me over to God. And God is my therapist now. God was telling me to quit therapy. Gradually he's like, go down to twice a month instead of 4 times, go down to once a month. And then he's like, I want to be your therapist. I want you to go to me for everything. I don't want you to rely on someone else anymore. And so I quit therapy. That same month, right before I quit therapy, the guy I had been dating, like I said, he broke things off back in February, and we hadn't really talked much. I randomly ran into him one time at basketball game, and we hung out then, but he just wasn't ready to talk to me. So like I said, very avoidant. He wasn't ready to talk to me, and then he came back into my life in October. God gave me closure, and he came to me. We hung out and had an amazing time. He told me he was moving out of state. Thank you for closure, God. And we hung out every week until he left, for like a month and a half. And it was really nice to get that closure and spend that time with him. I now know that God was removing the distractions from my life, the things that were there for me to run away from my issues instead of going to him. Lots of debt, so I couldn't travel, because traveling was a big way to run away. Concerts, anything like that. Relationships. I'm not dating. I'm not interested in dating right now. I'd rather get my stuff together. I don't want to deal with that stress at this time. Men have always been a huge distraction in my life. I've spent years chasing men. God got me away from the lustful lifestyle that I was living in, OnlyFans, which I'm so grateful for. And here I am today. I would have never thought I would be here. I would never thought that I would be driving down the street listening to a sermon instead of listening to Sexy Red and Glorilla, clubbing and drinking a lot. And I was living life, but I was never happy. People would see on my Instagram, like, Amy, wow, I'm so jealous of your life. It looks so amazing. Oh, I wish I could travel. I wish I could do these things. And I was straight up with them. I was like, I hate my life. I was like, I'm only doing this to distract myself so I don't have to think about things. And here I am now, unemployed. Don't know what's going on, but fully trusting God. And it feels good to finally have someone that I can trust and no longer have to do it on my own. Spend my whole life having to figure out everything on my own. If I wanted something, I had to work my butt off to get it. And I'm proud of myself because I've always worked so hard. Like, I made that YouTube channel that fetish account of nothing and really grew it, took care of myself. I was able to work from home, be with my dog in like the last year of her life, see the world. I'm still upset about the relationship, but I've healed a lot through it. Like, I'll be real about it. But I'm grateful that God ended it. It's not what I wanted. Although he was a great person, really good person, it just was not what I wanted. It wasn't what's meant for me. I hate to say it, but I'm grateful for the debt now. It's so crazy. Because through all this, God got me. I prayed to God. I said, God, please help me become financially responsible again. God blessed me with that. I got all my spending down, all my bills down. I no longer need to spend money. It's not like new things coming in every other day, every like few days from Amazon. I don't go to Target for random trips just to buy little things here and there. I don't need that validation anymore from men. I don't need to go out and drink and club just to feel something. I still struggle and I still miss a lot of things, and I don't have a lot of excitement in my life right now, which has been hard for me because I've been somebody who's always relied on excitement and running around and always being busy. And so God has taught me patience and trust and how to slow down. God taught me how to be brave and stand up for myself and learn that I no longer have to lie or pretend to be something I'm not for people who like me. God taught me self-worth, how to love myself, how to love others properly instead of just chasing people away, how to stop being so anxiously attached in relationships, being so desperate to have someone to love me. God taught me love. He loves me and he is enough for me. God is literally my everything now. Literally my everything. God taught me how to depend on him. He regulates me. Anytime I feel anxiety creeping in, I stop, I slow down, I pray, I ask him to take it, and he does. I ask him to take everything, and I'm completely surrendered to him, and I'm so excited to see where this is going to go. You know, it was hard. Like, these last 4 years have been hard, like a lot of suffering and a lot of just hard times mentally, but I'm in the best place I've been in years. I'm not 100 yet, but he's going to get me there, and I'm really excited for this journey. There's a lot of other things that happen in between, but I didn't want to get into like too many details and have you here all day. But essentially, God took me from heartbreak, sex worth, low worth, lustful life to just being a beautiful woman of God and just being filled with love. I had nothing else but him to lean on in that time, and I'm so glad that I did. Oh my gosh, I'm getting out of here. I need to go for a walk and clear my head. I love you guys.